All right, we were close to the end of perek Hey. Last year here we left off. Ulafi. What? You were talking about. I think this one you did give a 10 to this one last week. No, you think? The Dias of Torah being wrapped, yes. Saying that when a person learns Torah, Torah is the watered down Chachma of the Rebbeinu Shalom. The Chachma of the Rebbeinu Shalom is the Rebbeinu Shalom. There is no separation. We think intellectually as some sort of separate exercise from who we are. Who are we? What is our thoughts? That these are important philosophical discussions. But it's experienced as something somewhat out of body. In a way, but for the Rebbeinu Shalom, the Chachma, the Rebbeinu Shalom, and him, they are one and the same thing. It's his essence. And when we experience a watered down Chachma and Rebbeinu Shalom and make it part of us, and own that, literally own it, be taifis in it, that literally makes the Rebbeinu Shalom part of us. And now, not only are we meluvash, every time we do a mitzvah, even an act of a mitzvah, we become mislabish, we become garmented with the Chachma and the Rebbeinu Shalom. But when we learn Torah and make that part of our intellect, we actually incorporate it into ourselves. We are now become the levushim of that Chachma. Since through Yediyas HaTorah, the Torah becomes wrapped up in the nefesh of the person. The seichel it is surrounded within them. That's why we refer to Torah as lechem, or refer to it as food. It is food of the soul. It is in the same way physically things where it's correlate to a there's a spiritual correlation of it. So the same way physically when we ingest food, it becomes part of us and becomes part of our life force, and it's now inside of us. So the Torah also on an intellectual level is becoming part of our neshama. Just like physical bread sustains the body, the kirva mamish, it enters inside of him in his blood. The what does it become? It literally becomes his flesh. It becomes his blood. So, and that's how he lives. That's how he has kiyum, by making food part of himself and digesting it and becoming part of himself. So went through knowing Torah and being masig Torah. Benefesh Adam, Shalom the hate of being seichel, who learns it well in his eon of his seichel, until it's held on in his seichel, in his intellect. It became one with him. They were one together. It becomes food for the soul, and it literally lives within him. From the Chayachayim, from the Rebbeinu Shalom Ein Sof Baruch Hu. That is, who is garmented in his chachma, the Torah shebekirba. This is what the pasuk refers to when it says "Your Torah Hashem is in my stomach." It's literally it's metaphorical in the sense that its stomach is physical and we're talking spiritually, but it means that it is part and parcel of that spiritual self that the person has. And just like it says in the Eitz Chaim, the garments of the neshamas, what are we going to wear to the big suit in Gan Eden? We're going to wear mitzvahs. Those become the malbush of the person. They adorn the personality of the person that's going to be in Gan Eden. But the Torah is going to be the Muslim neshamas. The Torah is going to be the food. When by being Isaac and Torah and Lam Hazeh Lishma, they're going to enjoy that Torah as food. Lasud lover.
Forever, it can't be food.
What do you mean, like?
It stays with you forever. You stop eating.
Right. You're saying if you already have it, why is it food in Gan Eden? Right. Good point. Kashkasa Bazar V'Yakov Ulishma Hainuk Delakashan Afshel Hashem Aideh Sagat Satar. Okay. V'hamazon, food is the bechina of or pnimi. This is a Chanukah type of thing. Food is also the gather of something that's an inner light of a person. V'alavushim bechinas makifim. The clothing is what surrounds the person, and or makif. U'lechein omer chazal shetarmat Torah shakol k'neged kol mitzvahs. Tarmat Torah is shakol k'neged kol mitzvahs because the mitzvahs are just the outer lavush, but the Torah is the inner muzzin that gives the person chiyus v'kiyum. You don't have anything without that. Right? Kiner mitzvah v'Torah or, Mefarshim says, Kiner mitzvah v'Torah or. The mitzvah is the ner, but you need the Torah to be the or. It's nothing without the flame. So it's the same thing here, saying the Torah is what gives the person, sustains the person. The mitzvahs are just the levushim, but if there's no body sustained within that malbush, it's not going to be anything. And therefore, Torah is shakol k'neged kol ha mitzvahs. Let's start perek vav a little bit. This now he's going to switch gears here in perek vav, and this gets very deep, and well, everything's fascinating here, but it switches to a different part of the discussion. Hashem, everything has zelumazeh. Everything in good has its correlation in ra. Everything spiritual has its correlation in gashmi, and so on and so forth. So he if you can think back to how we started, he began by talking about what's called the nefesh habahami of a person, the physical drives that a person has, the animalistic soul of a person. He went on to discuss how Klai Yisrael has a second element, the nefesh elokis, and he's been discussing that now for a few prakim and how it's made up of 10 levels, chacham bin v'das, and all the different midos. Now he's going to pivot back to the nefesh habahami. Ki kemoish nefesh elokis kalulam eser spheres. Just like the nefesh of Elokis, the more spiritual one from the Rebbeinu Shalom, is kalula, is made up of eser spheres, of these 10 spheres, these 10 levels, kedushos of kedusha, umislabshos b'shlosh levushim. It also has 3 different elements it's able to be malbish itself in, which is dibur, machshava, and ma'isa, through speaking, through having machshavas, and through doing acts. Kacha nefesh is sitra achra. So too the nefesh of the sitra achra. And sitra achra is a very important term in particularly in Tanya. Sitra achra means the other side. We refer to it, we use it to it's become common language, just like refer to it as like what we might think of like the devil or something like that. But that's not really what it means. What it literally means sitra achra is the other side. Meaning because everything, why it means the other side is because whenever there's no Rebbeinu Shalom kaviyachol, it's a removal, a symptom of the light of the Rebbeinu Shalom, and then you have like the dark side where there's a vacuum of the Rebbeinu Shalom that allows for a tfisa of ra in this world and everything that we struggle with and have our nisyonos with. So the nefesh of the sitra achra, the nefesh of Hami comes from the sitra achra, comes from that other side. Again, it doesn't mean it's a devil. It means it comes from that symptom, that vacuum of direct hara from the Rebbeinu Shalom. It comes from the klipas noiga. That's going to be another very important term going forward that he's going to discuss soon. Klipas are generally associated with the shattering of the or, and they're these hard shells around or that we look for in this world. The klipas aren't really the spark. The klipas specifically are the shells around the sparks. But it's not just that they're klipas noiga are the shells around the sparks. He's going to talk about it more barichas. I don't want to get it too much now, but there are different levels to the klipas. Some are just tuma. There's no real way of being mal of them. But then there's a level called klipas noiga that have the spark inside the shell that were meant to be matar. That is where the nefesh habahami comes from. That's meluvash in the dam adam. That is also kalula me eser kisrin de misavusa. It also has 10 different levels of kisarim of tuma. Misavusa is the lashon of tuma, and you refer to it as kisarim. They're not spheres. Spheres are the 10 spheres are only for kedusha, only on the good side. On the bad side, on the sitra achra there are 10 levels, but they're not called eser spheres. They're called eser kisrin. They're crowns. Exactly why. Is not a discussion for now, but they are the crowns of Tumah. They are Sheva Midas Royas Habos Me Arbas Yisoides. They also have, just like we have 7 Midas Tovas, Chesed, Gvur, Tferes, Netzach, all down those levels. On the opposite side, we have also 7 levels of Chesed, some version of Chesed, Gvur, Tferes, that is also our Midas Royas. This is incredibly important, that all those ideas that we talk about of the spheres Kedoshas, they have flip sides that are driven by a negative force, that are not. So Chesed can be used l'ra, when a person uses Chesed as a way of not having proper boundaries. How does the Torah refer to someone who's ba al chesed is referred to as ki Chesed? Why is it Chesed? It's because Chesed can be a non-boundary state of things. When a person...
There isn't an opposite side to these 10 spheres, because everything else there is, why would it stop here?
What do you mean?
Of course, there is
Well, he's saying that everything has its opposite side. But that's what he's saying. That is what he's saying. He is saying this, that there are opposite sides, and chesed and gevura. Obviously, gevura is easier to understand how it can be used, to control, be controlling. Tiferes can be an obsession with beauty. All the midas can be used. And it's not just that you're using them for bad things. That they are coming from a source they can be attached to a source that is the sitra. The Rambam talk about the Rambam in Shmona Perek goes to all the midas. Yeah, it's that type of idea. These shivas rois, these 7 bad midas, they come from Arba Yisoidus Roy. The Arbi Yisodis Roim Hanal. What are the Arbi Yisodis Roim? Are the when he's referring to them as Roim, what he means is the what is the Arbi Yisodis that make up the physical world, which is where the Nefesh of Bahami comes from, which are air, earth, fire, and water. That's an Adam is made up of all those four things, and those four things make up the person that then has that creates that Nefesh HaBahami in him. So, for example, like they say, like certain one of the midas rois are like atzlus and atzlus, laziness or depression. That's associated with earth. It grows out of that. Eish is kas or gaiva, getting angry or being arrogant. Mayim is all tanugim. Taivas come from water, and ruach is hoylulus, is just like leitzonis, making not taking anything seriously, and there's another one there. I'm forgetting what it is.
Came from four, so we are missing one.
Yeah. There's hoylulus, and it's in that one. It's in ruach. There's another one. Whatever. Okay, it's another version of just making light of things. But Belina, the next time I will get back to it. But those midas come from the Arbi Yisodis, and the seichel that is moili them, that is nechlak into three groups, is chacham bina v'das. Chacham bina v'das also can come from forces that are sitra acher, that can be driving forces. Your brain is not always going to be a driving force behind good. Your brain can be a driving force behind bad. Your desire for bina can be a driving force behind bad. Das, connection, all these things can come from bad. Ki amidus hen liferach haseichel, midus go liferach haseichel. We'll hold it here in 1 second. Ki akot and choshev, just like he's saying, l'mashal, you have a small child is going to be attracted. He's going to use his cheshek, he's going to use his chachma to do things that aren't great, to maybe bully other kids, or to grab other things, and that's where he's holding in life. That is the erech haseichel he has. But as we expand and hopefully mature, and our seichel expands, there's more of an ability for that seichel, that chachma bina v'das, to then tap into the koichas hatoiv that it comes from, to the nefesh elokis. But you see where it's going. We're constantly in this flux where all our midas can go one way or another, and can be used for nefesh elokis, but can be used for nefesh bahami, and he'll continue to expand on this as we move forward.